Hi automators, friends of Airtable, Zapier and Make are two of the most powerful and widely used automation platforms connecting Airtable to other apps and platforms. But what if I told you that the way you're triggering Zapier and Make today might not be the best way? Let's get into it. So, what is the usual way of triggering Zapier or Make when there are changes in your Airtable account? The usual way is to set Airtable as a trigger in your Zaps, for instance, and then you have events here like a new record or a new or updated record. In Make.com, this is very similar. You have a watch record module, and what's happening then is you're basically telling Zapier or Make, please go to my Airtable account at a certain interval and see if there are any new records. If yes, then please run this automation for that record. The obvious issue with that is that there's a delay. It's not instantaneous. Something's happening in your Airtable base, and then it depends on when that interval comes next, where Zapier or Make basically goes to your account and looks for a change. Not instantaneous. The second disadvantage of this is, at least in the case of Make.com, this costs you money. So every time Make goes to your account and pulls updates, that is an operation. In the case of Zapier, that actually is not the case because triggers don't count against your quota. So what am I proposing? I'm proposing that instead of using these built-in triggers in Zapier or Make, we use a webhook that we actually send or trigger from Airtable, and we use Zapier or Make's incoming webhook feature in order to run our automations. The advantages of that are clear. Like, it's instantaneous because we're actually sending the event at the moment it's happening. And in the case of Make.com, it doesn't cost us money because Make doesn't have to do anything up to the point where the webhook is received. Let's see how that works. I'm here in Airtable and I have a very simple base. As you can see, just two records, Peter and Mary, just some test notes. And what I want to do is I want to trigger Zapier or Make when the status changes to in progress for any of these records. Zapier and Make is interchangeable, by the way, for the sake of the demo now, because they both have an incoming webhook trigger, which we're going to target in order to trigger the Zap or the Make automation. So how do we do that? We go to automations. We create a new automation, and since we want to respond to that update change, let's say we use the when a record matches conditions trigger. So when a record matches conditions, in our case, is when the status is in progress. So when the status on any of those records becomes in progress, that's when this automation is going to fire. And then we're running a script. And in the script is basically where we are targeting the webhook endpoint and then triggering that Zap. Let me copy this over from here so I have it saved from a previous project of mine. And let's go through this. So the first thing is the input config. The input config is in automation scripts what you're defining here on the left side. So for instance, we had something like notes. So I could say, I'm pulling the notes from a record that has been triggering this, or I need the record ID because I want to do something with that Airtable record, unique Airtable record ID, so I can pass that here as well. So all of this will be inside of the input config. And we can also see this by basically console logging this, and we let this run for a trigger. We of course need to set the status to in progress. Let's also rename this, by the way, call Zapier or trigger Zap. So now if I want to log this, I can run the test for Peter. And this will basically give us Peter's notes and the record ID when this has run. 1 second. It's a bit slow here today. There we go. So we have notes and record ID. If I would add something else here, for instance, the status again, I could do that as well. And automatically this would become part of the input config. So this basically gives us an object. As you see, an object is always just in curly brackets in JavaScript and then a key value combination. So we have all these keys and values now in here. Next thing we want to do is we want to send these to Zapier to our Zap. So we do this with a fetch call. The fetch call is basically a way of targeting APIs or webhooks in JavaScript. We have to await this because this is asynchronous. So we're basically waiting for the response here, and the rest of the code execution, anything that would come after this, wouldn't execute before this has finished. As you can see here, we have an address, and this address we need to declare now. So I'm gonna delete this for now. Gonna go to Zapier. We create a new Zap, and as our trigger, we set Webhooks by Zapier. Here we can just say catch hook. We go and continue, and now Zapier is creating this unique endpoint for us that we can use and add here. We just remove the last slash because we don't need that in our case. And then this is we can send this as a post request. We need to set the content type as a header. So this is just something that needs to be in place so that Zapier accepts that request basically. And then we are having the body, and we're sending certain parameters in the body. What is JSON Stringify? JSON Stringify basically turns our input, so this object that we've console logged here, or we have logged before, into a string and adds it basically in the end to this endpoint. So this is just a way of turning our object, which is like not a text, into a text. So that's why JSON Stringify exists. And in here, we just put our object that we've logged before. And that's all we need to do. That is a very, very dynamic way of passing any data from Airtable to Zapier. We don't need to do anything else. We just need to define this as an input variable here on the left-hand side, and it will be included in the object. And you can do this with any data that you have in your Airtable base. If you want to see sort of how that data looks like, just do it as I've done it here. You just log it. So you add it here on the left-hand side as an input variable, and then you just log it and you see how it turns out, how it comes out. Let's remove this for now. Let's go on test trigger, and let's actually run this test before we do that. And we go on test trigger, and there we go. There we have our request. So that's the request we just sent. As we see, we have some nodes, we have a record ID, and we have our status. And now you can do with that data whatever you want. And the cool thing is that you can use any Airtable automation or any way of, or any place where you can add that script. You can trigger Zapier or Make. So it's very, very flexible, much more flexible than Zapier's traditional way or Make's traditional way, where you have to have like a modified time column in your or field in your Airtable base, and then that basically shows Zapier what has been changed, etc. Now it's much, much better. You can just use Airtable's native automations, and you just add this script wherever you want. You just take this snippet, that's all you need. You exchange the address here, and that's it. You're good to go. And that's how you trigger Zaps, how you can trigger Make. Like for Make, let's quickly go over this. So if you, let me actually, delete this module. And if we go on Airtable, there's this watch responses, and it says instant because this is exactly what we just did. It creates a unique address for you, so we could do exactly the same thing here as well. This is the address that we would need in our script at this point. So instead of hooks.zapier.com, it's a hook something make.com. And that's it. That's how to trigger Zapier and Make like a pro from Airtable. Instantaneous, more flexible, and cheaper. The script that you've seen will be in the show notes. Leave me your comments, your questions. I'm always super happy to hear from you. Let me know what you thought of this video. And until next time, all the best. Happy automating. Bye. And the last thing I want to show you is a course I'm recording, Airtable scripting for NoCoders. I hope to launch this before the end of February. It's going to be a step-by-step course where I show you exactly how to write scripts. and how to become proficient in writing scripts in Airtable. There's going to be a bit of JavaScript basics in there, then how the scripting API works. So a few things you've also seen in this video. Then we're going to feature a lot of scripting use cases, a lot of live examples, and then also, of course, how to use ChatGPT or AI in general to make writing scripts a lot easier. Writing scripts in Airtable is really the next level. It allows for so many more use cases that are simply hard to tackle without writing code. This is the course to learn about it, specifically tailored to Airtable. So if you're interested in it and you want to dive a bit deeper into how does it work, what are the fundamentals behind it, how can it take my Airtable setups to the next level, then I highly encourage you to put your name and email on the list. You can also let me know whether you have any content requests or your specific use case, your specific examples that you want to see featured in this course. The link is down below, and I'd be super stoked if I would see you sign up for that.